Hey, friends. This is Martine Williams, and I am obsessed with all things mompreneur life and helping you to remix your priorities, your habits, your mindsets, and yes, even your relationships so that you can build a successful business without losing yourself in the process. I'm also obsessed with the color turquoise and lyrics of the 80s and 90s, but that's beside the point. Girlfriend, you don't have to hustle 24/7, 365 and continue to sacrifice your health, your relationships, and your sanity to be a successful mompreneur. As a small town girl living in a lonely world to a six-figure mompreneur, I am here to teach you how. There is a better way, and this podcast is your one-stop shop for all of the how-tos, the encouragement, the life hacks, the success tips, and of course, a little side of tough love. This is the Mompreneur Life Remixed podcast. So let's do this. Welcome back, friends, to the Mompreneur Life Remixed podcast. This is your host, Martine Williams. I'm also your CEO, your Chief Encouragement Officer. If this is your first time listening to one of the episodes, welcome. I'm so thankful that you are here. You will always find encouragement here. You will always find real talk here and vulnerability. I'm willing to share my mess to hopefully help you in your businesses and in your life. And this is a new month. It's March, and I am excited for March. Number one, it's my birthday month. I don't know that I'm one of those that celebrates all month long, but my birthday is on St. Patrick's Day. So I feel like the whole world celebrates on my birthday. It's always been a super fun birthday to have, but it's also Women's History Month. And I just want to give a shout out to all of you out there, all the women out there who are doing the thing, right? Like being the mom, being the wife, being the teacher, being the entrepreneur, being the CEO, like all the roles that you hold every single day. I just want to give a super big shout out to all of you. I know there are good times and bad times and challenging times, and I hope that you will find this podcast a place where you can just come and get that inspiration, that encouragement, and also some really practical ways to remix your mompreneur life so that you are building a life that you love, that you're designing a life and a business that you love and not one that's just like by default and living up to the expectations of others. So there's so many women. I could spend an entire podcast describing the amazing women that I have in my life from a professional and personal standpoint, but I know I would leave someone out. So I'm just going to say shout out to all of those ladies. Y'all know who you are, my lifers, those that have been around for a very long time, and those that sometimes all the communication we have is just sending memes back and forth. Some days that's just the way it goes, right, moms? So I wanted to share with you a couple of things as we move into March. So we're going to have some phenomenal Turquoise Talk guests this month, honoring and talking about business and talking about mompreneur life. I'm super excited to introduce the guests to you this month. But today I really wanted to talk about, in honor of Women's History Month, our power and how many of us give that power away, whether it's in your business or in your personal life. And maybe, it's March and maybe you set some really big goals and you're not as excited about them as you used to be right now. That newness and that excitement has worn off. Or maybe you are just feeling less than. You're feeling like this is never going to happen. And I've told you about, I think, maybe not, but I've read a book called The Gap and the Gain, and I'm hoping to maybe have Dan or Ben on to the podcast to talk about it, because it's just a simple but super powerful concept when it comes to setting goals. And, do you have the mindset of being in the gap, which is, this is where I am and my goal is, like ahead, like so far ahead, like you're in that gap where it just never seems like it's going to happen. It's never possible. You're doing all the negative self-talk. Or are you in the gain, which is measuring backwards? So you're able to look back and see how far you've come. And that changes the game when we can look at it in that way. And I honestly, I've had to think about this myself, because am I where I want to be right now professionally? Absolutely not. But I'm not where I was. And I think we just have to constantly remind ourselves of that And one of the things that I'm challenging myself, and I'm going to challenge you to do as well, based on this book. And please send me a DM on Instagram at Martine31Williams if you decide to do this with me. But for the whole month of March, one of the things that he talks about in the book is, and he's done it for over 30 plus years, is making sure that every single day that you are journaling 3 wins from that day, and then the 3 wins that you're going to get the next day. So you've heard me talk about, gratitude and starting my day with gratitude and things like that, but this kind of takes it to a different level. So one of the things he talked about was the brain always wants to go a little further in the direction it's being rewarded. We reward what we want repeated, right? And our brain works in that way as well, which I thought was fascinating. So the brain always wants to go a little further in the direction it's being rewarded. So if every single night at the end of your day, you are documenting your 3 wins for the day. What are the 3 things you're grateful for that went really well that day? That's keeping your brain in the gain instead of being in the gap of what you didn't accomplish, right? And then you're going to bed with all of those thoughts of things you didn't get done. And no wonder we're not sleeping well. No wonder, we're waking up in the middle of the night or we're having a hard time falling asleep. So if you're able to write out your 3 wins for the day, and then in anticipation of the next day's wins, writing out the 3 wins that you're going to get the next day. He says, so if you're rewarding yourself every night, that's where the brain wants to go next. So it wants to automatically go to that. And if the brain also gets bored, so we'll always be looking for new ways to bring wins. So this is a really cool kind of up level, I would say, in journaling, in your gratitude journal or whatnot. So every single night in the month of March, I'm going to be documenting the 3 wins for the day and then the 3 anticipated wins for the next day, because I want to celebrate the gains that I have, the gains that I'm in that day, and then also have my brain already working, even while I'm sleeping, thinking about those 3 wins that I'm going to get the next day. So I'll challenge you to do this and try it for 30 days and just try it and see. Like, test me on this and test, Dan and Ben on this. Again, he's done it for 30 years and it's a great book. I highly recommend that you get The Gap and the Gain and read it. It's really good on audio too, because you get to hear the interviews between Dan and Ben and kind of going into a little more detail on some of these things. But what a difference your month would be if you kept your mindset, I'm big on mindset, in the gain and not in the gap. What if you set your goals and your priorities and all of those things based on the gain and not the gap? And you do have gains every single day. I think it's when it's not maybe the big gain that you were expecting or the big gain that the goal that you set is taking longer. This is where this is even more important, because we see people, especially as women, we see people having what we think is overnight success, but we don't realize all the behind the scenes work they have done in their own mindsets, in their own imposter syndrome, in their own negative self-talk. Like, everyone goes through that when it comes to their goals and the things that they want to accomplish. And I know by March 1st, a lot of times people have given up on their goals. They're giving away their power to circumstances or excuses. And we could do a whole episode on that. But I challenge you to join me in this the whole month of March, to give your brain what it wants. And what it wants is that recognition of the gains that you have made that day. So 3 gains for the day, and then 3 gains in anticipation for the next day. Try it out, 30 days. Find me on social media, on Instagram, and let me know if you're doing this with me, so we can kind of keep each other accountable for it. But the other thing that I wanted to read to you, and I know you've probably heard this before, but since it is Women's History Month, and I think there are so many women, and I can be completely honest with you that I myself have at times as an entrepreneur struggled with my light and my power and the gifts that God's given me, and withholding them because of fear or doubts, all the things. And so I want to remind you that of Marianne Williamson's quote. You've probably heard it before, but I'm going to read it to you. And I hope this will encourage you as you enter March, which is Women's History Month. So she says, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? How many of you have said that? Who am I? I've said it. Who am I to offer this service? Who am I to charge this for my services? Who am I to be on that stage speaking? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God, and your playing small does not serve the world. I'm going to say that again. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is someone right now who needs the gifts and the services and your smile and your personality and your strengths of personality. They need it right now because you can reach them and talk to them and shine a light into their life like no one else. It's unique to you. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We all are meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us. It's in everyone. It's not in just the woman who looks like she has it all put together. It's not in the one that you see driving the fancy cars and flashy bling. It's not in and you fill in the blank. Like, who is the person you're looking at right now? And you're thinking, wow, she's got it together. What she has is inside of you too. The magic is inside of you. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. That fires me up because that is what I want. I want for each and every single one of you to shine your light so bright that people see the difference and that people look at you and say, wow, I need to go talk to her. I need to understand, where does her light come from? As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. And you've experienced that. If you've been to a conference or you've sat in a church service and you've heard someone's testimony or you've heard someone's story of how they've overcome fear, how they've overcome obstacles, that's what fires you up because it gives you that glimpse of hope that you too can own your power, own your gifts, own your talents, and put them out to the world fearlessly. So why do we struggle with this? And I think as women, we are still told in so many subtle and not so subtle ways that people don't like strong women, right? And many of us are not sure, like if our bosses, our spouses, or our kids will still love us or want us if we fully express our power. We've all seen women shine a little less brightly so she doesn't offend anyone, including other women. Have you done that before? I do try to remain super humble because I feel like we're also called to be humble, but that doesn't mean that we still can't shine bright and be confident. There's a difference in confidence and pride and remaining humble, yet your light is shining so bright because of who you are and how God has designed you. And some of us are so eager not to lose that we just disqualify ourselves before the race even begins, right? Like that, now that I think about it, like, don't even, listen to this podcast. Like, what can I really say that would mean anything to you? You don't need to read my book. You don't need to buy my product. Like, I don't really know. Like, we just disqualify ourselves before the race even begins. And I remember listening to an interview with a Olympic gold medal winner. I cannot remember her name, but she was really struggling with this. And she would get to the line and get ready to, for the gun to fire for her to run. And she went to a sports psychologist and they said, well, tell me what's happening. And she said, well, I get down to the line and, I'm ready. I've done all the training. I've done everything that I need. My body's in great shape. I get to the line and my brain just automatically starts running through all of these things. And he said, you've lost the race before the trigger even goes off. Like, you're automatically disqualifying yourself before you even give yourself a chance to shine bright. And so maybe that's you. Maybe you don't even try to pursue your dreams, try to pursue bettering yourself or your relationships because you just feel like this is the way it's always been. Nobody's going to understand, or I'm just not capable of this. Who knows how many wonderful, world-changing, life-changing, fortune-changing, or just day-changing ideas bit the dust because someone smart, talented, and passionate gave away her power. She disqualified herself before she even started. That's why a lot of things are left and dreams and ideas are left on the table because we just don't start because we go through this. Well, I'm not good enough. I'm not enough. I don't have the talents. And I'm saying this to you like one finger at you and two fingers pointing back at me because again, I don't think any woman is exempt of feeling these things in different seasons of her life in her business. So how do you embrace your power? And we all need to influence, nurture, and celebrate and encourage other women to recognize their gifts and their talents. And I know that encouraging is my superpower. I know for some of you, maybe that doesn't come natural to you. But when you see something, you see a woman or a man doing something like ordinary, would seem ordinary, but is extraordinary, like say something. Encourage them, celebrate it, nurture it, influence it, right? We want to recognize the behaviors we want repeated, even with our kids. I don't know where this quote came from, but it says, don't be a smart gal with dumb fear. Fear is nothing more than false evidence appearing real. We've talked about this before on the podcast. So we want to embrace your power. And, first of all, you don't want to add up all the times you've messed up. That's in the gap, right? All the things that you didn't do or how far away you are from your goals. You want to add up the times, go back, measure backwards in the game. How many times you showed up big? How many times you showed up big? How many times you just showed up? Some days, that's all you got. I'm just showing up and I'm here. And we need to celebrate that because I'm sure there's some days where you just want to get back in the bed and just not do anything because it just feels hopeless, whatever situation that you're in, personally or professionally. And there's this example of a trapeze artist, and they have the best attitudes. When they climb to that high pedestal, you can bet they try to recall their very best knockout performance. The time they thrilled an awestruck crowd, not the time they hit the net. If they're thinking about the net, guess what? That's where they're going to land, is in the net. But if they're thinking about, I knocked that out of the park. And I want to pause here and say that there is always a past blessing, a past accomplishment that you can go back and look on. And number one, be thankful for. And number two, celebrate. When you're in the middle of a mess or you're in the middle of feeling like you're stuck or you're not able to move forward, it's because you're looking at where you are right now as opposed to how far you have come. And to go back and maybe, I know for me, that's why I've been journaling over the last year and a half, like seriously been journaling, because I know I'm not going to be able to remember all the things that God has done in my life in the last year and a half. I'm not going to remember all the things that he took me through and got me through and accomplishments and how far I've come. When I think back to 2006, when I first became an entrepreneur, I'm a different person. That was a very shy, very not confident, no sales experience, like all the things. I could give you a laundry list of things. And if I can go back and look and say, wow, how far I've come to 2023, it's amazing. And it gives you confidence. It gives you that power back to say, okay, let's move forward. What can I accomplish today to help me get closer? So back to the trapeze artist, they have a great saying that the greatest flyers are always the greatest fallers. The greatest flyers are always the greatest fallers. And this is really important. Trapeze artists never confuse falling with failing. They never confuse falling with failing. So why should we? Why should we? Again, failed attempt and learning. That's all it is. Tried something, didn't work. Let's try something different. Or let's try it again. Maybe there's just a little tweak that you need to do in your business, in your messaging, in your nutrition, in your exercise, in your relationships, how you communicate. Maybe it's just a little tweak. But when we don't get that 100% result, we fall, we think failure, and we give our power away to that fall and to what we call our failure. To own our power, we need to abandon our fear of looking foolish, and yes, our fear of falling. Oh, to be sure, when you're up for something big in any area of your life, you will get that knot in your stomach and hear that voice cry out, wait, you're not ready. You're not ready yet. You can't talk about that yet. You can't have that conversation yet. You can't put your services out there yet. But don't listen to that. Don't listen to that. Just move forward anyway. And again, it's interesting because these are some things I know, again, as in my own 16 years of being an entrepreneur that I've struggled with, and I've helped coach. It's always easier to coach someone through it than to coach yourself through it, right? It's easier to tell someone else, oh, you should just do this. But then when it's you're like, oh, and then all these other emotions come up. And I was sharing with a mentor of mine about some mindset stuff that I was going through. And she was like, what if you just didn't make it a problem? Like, what if you just acknowledged this is the fear you're having, but don't let that fear keep you from taking action? It was like, she just made it so simple. Like, stop trying to fix it necessarily and just own the fact that this is something that comes up for you every time. And just don't let it keep you from taking action. Just acknowledge it. Hey, I see you. You're there. You're trying to make me feel fear. You're trying to make me wait. You're trying to make me believe that I need to be ready. Ready is a lie, y'all. And ready is a decision more than it's a feeling, because you may never feel ready to tackle whatever is coming for you in March and the things that you want to do this year in 2023. But we want to learn to take imperfect action before we have that perfect plan. And believe me, that's a mantra I say to myself all the time, because that is part of my personality. I love the plan. I love the blueprint. Give me the details. I ain't afraid to work it, but just give me the plan and I'll do it. So I hope that this encouraged you as we move into March. And wherever you find yourself in March, just know that you have a light that is meant to shine. It's not meant to be put under a basket and under a table. Your light is supposed to be put up on a lamp stand and shine bright for everyone to see. And I celebrate that in you. And if you don't believe that in yourself, you can come back here to this podcast, because I'm always believing in you, and I'm always believing in your ability to show up and to design a life and a business that you love, that serves others well, that serves your communities well, serves your families well, and overall just shines a light in the dark places of this world. We need more women and men to step up, own their power, own their gifts and their strengths of their personality, and put them out into the world. Feel the fear and do it anyway, because there's someone out there who needs what you have, needs you to go and speak to them in the way that only you can speak to them. So I look forward to the challenge for March and being able to do the 3 wins for the night at night. So go to bed, before you go to bed, write out your 3 wins that you had that day, but then also 3 anticipated wins for the next day. Super excited about that. Can't wait to see what happens in March because of that. If you're going to do that with me, make sure you reach out to me on Instagram at Martine31Williams. And again, I'm believing in you always, and happy Women's History Month. Well, that's a wrap, friends, for this week's episode of the Mompreneur Life Remixed podcast. Thank you so much for listening and for following the show. It means so much to me. And listen, friend, sharing is caring. So if you loved this episode and thought of some fellow mompreneurs who could benefit, send them the link. Share this episode or take a screenshot and head on over to Instagram and share and tag me at Martine31Williams. We are connected on Instagram, right? It's where you will get all the fun behind the scenes of my life and business as a mompreneur. Until next time, know that I am believing in you always.